Hey everyone. Hey, thanks for joining Hide and Go Vape this evening, or to whenever you're viewing it. My name is Victor. I'm a canine handler with Tactical Canine. I own School Canine Detection. Uh, that's a informational organization that I've started to put out information to parents, students, teachers, administrators about drugs, vape, other contraband that we find in schools. And today we're going to go over how the internet, social media, websites, and blogs are contributing to educating our kids in a wrong fashion about techniques, methods, recommendations to vape without being detected. In other words, to dodge the effectiveness of the vape devices. That's the primary message that they want you or want our kids to learn so they can contribute to their addictive behaviors using vape devices. I'm an ER nurse as well. I work 3 nights out of the week in an ER. I've been doing that for 30 years or so. I've been in canine detection for about 10 years, and I kind of married the two together between my ER nurse experience and my canine handling experience to uh, hopefully make a difference in making schools safe by education, detection, and deterrence. And canine detection is one of the uh, uh, things that we use or I use in order to get that message out. Thank you for joining us tonight. What you're going to learn tonight is some vape statistics that you probably already know. It's going to be just a refresher. Harmful impacts of vaping, both from a mental, psychological, and health perspective. A generic overview of how vape sensors work. What do vape sensors detect? The difference between smoke and vapor. We're going to go over that a little bit, a little science involved in this. The methods and efforts that are trending on all these social media sites and the internet to defy their effectiveness. And how do the vape detectors fit into your overall comprehensive strategy for mitigating and eliminating, eradicating uh, vape use in our schools. So these statistics are certainly uh, of no new news to you. They're publicized in a lot, and they're still rather alarming. Although that some of the trends have gone down in high schools and middle schools are kind of trending up, but they really speak to a lot of the addictive sides of this. Over 60% of high school and middle school kids say that they don't feel like they can go a day without vaping because the addictive qualities that these devices have on our kids. So, vaping, being on the front line of emergency medicine for 30 years, I see the effects of vaping on kids from a health perspective, and they come in with various crises between, psychological and mental and physical, complaints that they have. Most of them are cardiovascular and respiratory in nature, shortness of breath, reactive airways, exacerbation of asthma, chronic bronchitis. The chemicals that are being inhaled really alter the tissue and they start degrading the respiratory efficiency. You'll start getting pop going lung, more incidents of pneumonia, worsening of asthma and chronic bronchitis. And these kids come in rather dyspneic and they're really short of breath, and uh, we're having to give them breathing treatments and steroids, and even sometimes intubate them if they're really short of breath or not breathing. So this is all a response to the chemicals that they're inhaling and the effects that they're having on their heart and their lungs. See a lot of tachycardias, a lot of palpitations, uh, hypertension, lots of cardiovascular impacts from the nicotine and the concentration of nicotine that these kids are having to that are being ingested in their bodies, and they're almost like a toxic effect. But that's what addiction does. It just causes them to use it more and more and more, and it really has serious effects on them. Psychologically, we see a lot more addiction, a lot of addictive behaviors, depressive symptoms, mood disorders, depression, and lots of anxiety, uh, lowered impulse control, where these kids just can't control themselves, they act impulsively. Their behaviors are such that they don't process consequences very well. Adolescent brain development, science tells us that our brains don't develop, these kids, until they're 24, 25 years old. And all these chemicals that are being introduced into the brain is altering some of those synaptic exchanges, neurotransmission, even some of the brain tissue itself. And some of the things that isn't talked about enough, I think, is the suicidal related behaviors, that this anxiety, these depressions that these are created have on our kids, and there's just not being looked at specifically, I think, near enough. Hopefully, we'll be able to get a better handle on that information as well. Vaping continues to be a threat to the adolescent population. This is old information from 2020, but this number has gone up significantly more since 2020 about the number of hospitalizations that are being recorded from vaping use associated lung injuries, more ICU admissions from this, and I think that the reported deaths are underreported from suicides based from the depressions that these kids fall into from the chronic use of these vape devices. And I hope that in the near future, CDC will track that a little better for us to get a better handle of what's going on. How do vape sensors work? Well, this information is a very generic um, approach because different manufacturers claim very different things. There are different features are in these vape devices, and I didn't go into the manufacturers at all. It was just a very generic overview of how these vape detectors work and some of the functions that they have to uh, mitigate the or eliminate the use of vapes in bathrooms and changing rooms and things of those places where they've been installed or where there's higher use. But before I do that, I wanted to go into a little science with you about the differences between vapor and smoke. There is a difference, and they can affect the triggering of the sensors. Although that some manufacturers or products that are out there will detect vapor and smoke, that's great. That's even better. But some just just detect vapor. So I wanted to go over with you a little differentiation about what those are from how they're created, the components of one over the other, and how long they last in the environment, or the disappearance factor of smoke and vapor. So smoke is created by combustion. It's heat that it's a burning of a substance at high temperatures, and it produces and creates a new chemical. Okay, so there is a transformation of this substance into a new chemical that's being introduced in the air, along with some particulates with the chemicals. That's what makes up the smoke. Okay, vapor, on the other hand, it's a transformation of matter from a liquid, let's say a vape juice. Okay, a liquid, a vape juice that is in these vape devices that is triggered by a heating element, and it's converted or transferred from a liquid to a gas or a vapor. It doesn't change. The chemical doesn't change into a new chemical, okay, it stays the same. It just transitions from one state of matter to another. That's the difference between smoke, which is a combustion, which com a new which creates a new chemical, and from vapor that just transfers one state of matter into another. The components, their smoke has it's a mixture of particulates of ash, soot, and various chemicals produced by the combustion itself. Okay, and it's a lot of particulates in the air. Okay, that make along with a chemical that makes the smoke. Vapor is a vaporized substance, or it's a converted substance from liquid to gas, and it has molecules of the liquid that is been transformed from a liquid to a gas or a vapor. So those are big differences there. Disappearance, smoke tends to linger longer for a longer period of time in the air. It seems to float more, it seems to be more present than vapor. Vapor doesn't linger near as much in as gaseous molecules for various factors that affect that. And it could be the amount of vapor that's produced, temperature, humidity. It affects whether or not the gas is going to yet again transfer back into a liquid. Interestingly enough, in my view, so far as working detection dogs, there is a difference how detection dogs encounter smoke and vapor. Vapor for a dog is a little different in how it applies its detection ability and skill. There's a lot more bracketing and air scenting with smoke. Vapor depends how long it's been since there's somebody, let's say, been smoking in a stall. Vapor, when it's transferring back into a liquid, that water vapor attaches to walls, doors, handles, uh, uh, toilet paper. It absorbs it, so the dog starts uh, finding those areas interesting, or it's a greater interest for the presence of odor than the smoke. Although that if you've gone in someone's car, you smell smoke. If they smoke in their cars, you can smell it in their seats, uh, in the covering of the of the roof of their car. If you go to concerts, it attaches to your hair, to your clothes readily. Vapor does too, to a lesser extent, because it's a water molecule, and it's absolutely absorbed into the fabric, which sometimes makes it a little harder to detect. But you certainly can smell it. But that's the difference that I wanted to go over with you, because it kind of does make a difference with how it affects those two types of, of, of smoke versus vapor on those sensors. Just wanted to cover that with you briefly. Uh, THC is a little different. These THC pipes, um, if you look at it, they're kind of have a little window, and there's a brown liquid in there, which is very viscous. It's very thick, okay? And it takes a lot of heat to convert that almost from an oil, which is a thick liquid, to a vapor, okay? Uh, the the vape sensors that are installed in bathrooms and in dressing rooms do have separate sensors for that, for THC. And THC makes a lot of vapor. Whenever it's heated and it's converted into a gas because it's so viscous, it creates a lot of vapor, okay? And also creates a lot of odor. So those of you that have encountered this odor in the bathroom, it hits you from the very time that you walk in, and sometimes before you walk in the bathroom, you can smell that THC vape, even if it's been a little while since there's been any smoking done. But these detectors that are being manufactured and installed do detect THC in a different sensor, and they also detect smoke And I, and they, so if you have marijuana, the actual leaf substance, they're smoking it in a joint, they'll detect that as well. Now, is it the particulates that it's detecting, or is it the THC that is burning? I don't know. You'll have to refer to your manufacturer, but smoke is something that they detect. Now, one of the new up and coming things that are available, being more available to kids, is these Kratom HHC vapes. They're available online and in brick and mortar stores. They're becoming more and more popular. They're very strong. Some of the product information, it says one puff is enough, and that's saying because it's so psychoactive, and the kratom is so sedating. It attaches to the opioid receptors in the brain, and the HHC, which is a variant of THC, it's also mixed in with those kratom vape devices. Um, I can only speculate about this, and you'll have to check your vape uh, manufacturer about this for your own particular product. But I contend that if there is a sensor that can detect THC, HHC is a variant of THC. Most of the THC devices is Delta 9. That's what they put in those vape devices. Sometimes it's Delta 8, but most of them all are Delta 9. Um, and there's all kinds of different variants of THC. Delta 9, Delta 8, Delta 0, HHC. I think that's it so far. But uh, what differentiates one variant from another is the carbon chains. Delta 9 has 9, Delta 8 has 8. HHC is a little different. It has 22 carbon chains in it, which really makes it different. But I'm assuming that if it can detect THC or Delta 9, that it should be able to detect HHC if it's a variant of THC. Now, kratom extract that is also in there, I don't believe that it can be detected in your vape devices. But again, I refer you to the manufacturers. But there's no data that I've come up with researching this that says that um, your average sensor, vape detector sensor, can detect kratom extract, which is in there. But just to make sure, check with your manufacturer. But that's pretty much how THC is detected on those devices. Okay, now this is refers to just the nicotine vape devices. Okay, all nicotine vape devices, no matter who makes them, they have propylene glycol nicotine, vegetable glycerin nicotine in them. Okay, all of them have either one or the other or a combination of both. Okay, so these sensors are calibrated to be able to detect propylene glycol and vegetable glycerin and nicotine. So they'll be able to once the once it's vaporized and it hits the sensor, that's what it's looking for. Ironically enough, whenever we imprint our dogs on vape devices, that's exactly what we calibrate or we imprint them on. Propylene glycol nicotine, vegetable glycerin nicotine. And that's what the dogs are actually looking for when they're looking in backpacks and rooms and bathrooms and outside, wherever we send them to search. That's the chemical substance that the dogs are looking for, not the additives or the flavorings, because there's over 7,000 flavorings that are available to add to these different nicotine or vape devices to make them taste good and make them appealing to kids. But our dogs aren't looking for that. They're looking for those substances. Uh, and so that's what our dogs are looking for as well. The only difference is that uh, the nicotine or the sensors are a fixed structure in the ceiling, okay, and the vapor has to go to the device for it to detect, okay. Our dogs are following odor, so our dogs are looking and trailing, bracketing, they're searching and following the movement of that odor to where the source is emanating, and then they indicate or show or tell us, hey, this is where that source of odor is. So kind of a little different process, but they're both detectors, the dogs and the detectors in the ceilings. But and we already talked about the THC, how they're able to detect THC and the smoke in the marijuana. Or oh, the other thing that I don't know if they detect is K2, because K2 is very popular to smoke too. But again, refer to those manufacturers. K2 is a synthetic marijuana. Again, that's something that you'll have to that information you'll have to get from your manufacturer. But this is how and what they detect. Okay, so here we go into the nitty gritty nuts and bolts of the presentation. And what I did is I researched all some of these social media platforms: TikTok, Facebook, Snapchat, YouTube, and went to some websites and blogs that are out there from manufacturers, influencers that have this information available to kids for them to consume, learn, and apply, so they can uh, smoke, they can use vapes in places that have these detectors present. So that's what the next segment of information is going to be. Uh, but before I get to that, I wanted to cover another kind of it was kind of new to me about uh, the different styles of vaping. And I didn't know, I've never smoked, I don't vape, I've never smoked in my life. So I don't know any of this. This was all new to me. So hopefully it'll be something that you can use as well. But there are two styles, predominantly two styles of vaping that are promoted out there. One is a mouth to lung, and the other one is a direct to lung vaping style. The mouth to lung is a the user inhales a more shallow inhalation of the device, which whenever they exhale, it produces less amount of clouds or vapor whenever it's exhaled, because they took a smaller portion of an inhalation. The direct to lung method is a deeper hit of the pipe. So they're taking in a larger inhalation in their lungs, okay, through the direct to lung. And whenever they exhale, they're producing a lot more vapor. A lot more vapor is being produced in the environment, okay, that will increase the likelihood of that vape the device in the ceiling, or that sensor, to trigger. So I thought that you might be interested in how these vaping styles would influence the detection or the non-detection of these devices, along with these other methods and techniques that I'm going to share with you later. Okay, so let's start off with filtration. Filtration, and you probably seen this and just didn't know it was called filtration, but what you normally see is kids taking a hit off a vape device and then getting their shirts over it and exhaling into their shirts, and hoping that the that's going to filter out some of the the vapor that they're exhaling, and thusly it'll lessen the chances of those those sensors being triggered, okay, up in the ceiling. So I kind of did a little, kind of not really formal experimentation with this. Um, this is a vape device, and this this is what we use to extract or charge the vape device. It's a syringe with a tube, and I'm gonna extract some smoke or some vapor out of this vape, about 20 cc's. You can see it fill the syringe. It's kind of you can see it's kind of full there in the, oh, there it is. And so this is the actual vapor that's produced, and so whoop, this is the smoke. There you go. And so I just got a washcloth, and then it's thicker than a shirt. It's folded double, triple, and then I just put some extract some or push some vapor out of the plunger, and it produces smoke. It doesn't really filter out much of anything. I don't know if I can see it in the shot I have here, but it really doesn't produce that much. It really doesn't filter out hardly anything. So I can't see how this method is very effective at all, and in defying the detectors. So I'm going to give that a big fat F, because it's not going to filter out um, enough enough vapor to discourage or to keep the the sensors from activating. So that's a big loser right there. Um, Vapor traps. Vapor traps are bottles, the little 12-ounce water bottles to the big, Stanley size, water bottles, plastic and metal. And what they do is they either get the straw, or they take the cap off, and they exhale or let the vapor escape into the bottle. The limiting factor there is the size and the space available to fill that bottle up with vapor. Okay, maybe one or two puffs before the bottle fills up with vapor and it starts billowing out of the top of it. And if it billows out the top, then it goes into the environment and thusly triggers the sensor. So that's not very effective. In a recent presentation I did at one of the schools, one of the assistant principals shared with me a method that he witnessed that a student was doing in the bathroom, and it was kind of associated with a trap. But what he told me is that the student would take a puff. There was a hole in the wall, on the side of the wall in the stall, and he would exhale into that hole, and the vapor would go behind the wall, and that's pretty effective. So that would work. That would keep the vapor from, uh, going into the environment and reaching the trigger in the ceiling. So my advice to him was, and this is advice I give to everybody, because whenever we go and search a bathroom, we're certainly looking for those openings in the wall, not only for vapor traps, but also as stash points, or hidey holes that we call them, where kids will put vape devices in them, stash them, and another student will come and vape and put it back, and that's how they kind of exchange the use of that particular vape device between the students and not get caught, not yet, uh, uh, by hiding these and stashing them in bathrooms, even outdoors, just anywhere they can. So our dogs are constantly checking those for the evidence of it being a stash point based on the odor this leaves. But anyway, so my advice to them is make sure that all those holes in your walls are repaired, shored up, so none of that can be used as a trap, a vapor trap. But again, this is not a very effective method. The most effective method that I found was this vape reservoir. Uh, Very effective if you do it correctly. So as you see in the picture on the slide, you have a balloon with a one-way valve, okay, with a rubber band clamp, and either a 24 or 36-inch balloon. This is a 24-inch balloon. And it's very ingenious. So what happens is that you take a drag off of your pipe, you exhale into the balloon. It traps the vapor in here, okay? So it's not released. That one-way valve keeps it from escaping the balloon, okay? And so I got about 5 to 8 exhalations before, the balloon got so much that you got a lot of resistance. I guess a bigger balloon, you get less resistance, but this 24-inch balloon, I got about 5 to 8 exhalations before it really got, it got too big. So the other thing that happens with this method is that due to the the difference in temperature of the temperature of my exhalation, which is my core temperature, and the temperature of the balloon, which is room temperature, okay, there's some condensation that happens. There's the vapor starts converting back into a liquid, and it condenses in this balloon. Okay, so you don't have an escape of propylene glycol or vegetable glycerin. It's all contained here. Okay, so after the user, the student, finishes filling this up, they have various options to dispose of it. They can take this valve off, take the little uh, binder off of there, tie it up, throw it in the trash. Boom, all done. It just becomes, they just bury it in the trash. No, I mean, that's pretty good. Or they take this off, take the balloon out in the hallway or somewhere else, and they deflate it, and it's all that content, all that is away from the sensor, so they've gotten away with, in this method, of of trap or using a reservoir, okay, to capture the vapor into uh, a device that will contain it. Well, there's not going to be any leaks. That valve will not leak. So pretty ingenious method, and I give this one an A, maybe an A plus in its effectiveness. But this is what's being put out there, folks. It's easy done. I mean, I bought the little valve $5 on Amazon and went to Party City and got a balloon and used my wife's hair tie just to make a device. So if I can do it that easy, so can anybody else. But again, it just shows the motivation behind addiction. It's just incredible. The flushing method. Okay. The flushing method is probably the most disgusting one. It can work given the chemical properties of propylene glycol, vegetable glycerin, and nicotine. They are all water soluble. That means that they're hydrophilic. They absorb into water very easily. So in this method, after you take a hit off your pipe, you flush the toilet. You make sure that the water is circulating, it's going downward, it's spiraling. It's creating a little Venturi effect. And so whenever the person that's vaping, the user, uh, gets his face down into the toilet as close as they can and exhales slowly, so the vapor is pushed down into the water, the circulating water collects the vapor and and takes it down the toilet. Okay, the circulation creates a little Venturi effect. Okay, and it draws the vapor in the right direction in order for it to absorb into the water. Okay, I think this method would be very effective if done correctly to avoid any detection from the sensors. This is the most risky and the most, so far as health-wise, and the most disgusting because uh, the the student has to get its face down into that toilet very closely, and there's a lot of bacteria that they're exposing their mucous membranes to, eyes, nose, mouth, where there's an introduction of pathogens into their systems that could cause a disease process from this, both respiratory, gastrointestinal, sinus, eye infections, ear infections, all kinds of different things. So this is by far the most disgusting and the most unhealthy way of escaping or avoiding detection of a vape device. So not recommended at all, just because of other effects. Shower cap method. Shower cap method is pretty popular on the internet, and it is basically creating a barrier. Okay, the shower cap creates a barrier between the vapor and the sensor. So if you put it over the sensor, this covers the sensor, and the vapor never gets to be triggered by the sensor. Now, some of the limiting factors are accessibility. Okay, that unless there's chairs or a ladder or someone big enough to hold, prop somebody up to put this over the sensor, would that even be effective? Okay, the other situation is that some of these uh, vape vape detector sensors have trigger alarms. So if someone is tampering or tamper trigger, if someone's tampering with the device, jiggling it, trying to destroy it or yank it off the wall, it sends an alert to to the administration, whoever is monitoring the alerts. I don't know how sensitive those are. Haven't been able to ascertain that level of information, but I guess if you can be very gentle and just put this and not create as much motion or whatever, tactile motion or tactile stimulation of the sensor to trigger a tampering alert, this would work. But again, I refer you to your manufacturer, your product person, to know if that would even be effective, if this method would even work on the particular sensors, detector sensors that you have. But that was a pretty popular method that I found on the social media pages. Okay, one of the less popular are the ones that this was kind of new to me too. It's zero vaping and stealth vaping. And this kind of there's a little curve of learning in regards to mastering this technique. But the user, the vapor who's using the vape, would take a small hit, uh, keep it inside, hold it for a little while, and then exhale slowly. As they master this, they can take deeper inhalations, okay, and retain it in their lungs. And what happens when it's in their lungs, um, it starts absorbing into the tissue of the lungs and the mucous membranes in the mouth and in the trachea. And so when they exhale, all that vapor is dissipated into the tissue. And so whenever they exhale, there is very little or no clouds of vapor that are being produced by the exhalation. Okay. And so this requires, and they can even do this in class, by the way. It was a big thing that you can stealth vape in class by using a very small vape device you can hold in your hand, and make sure that it's more propylene glycol than vegetable glycerin, because propylene glycol produces less vapor than vegetable glycerin does. They're the disposable vape devices have a higher concentration of propylene glycol (PG), and so kind of the stealthy thing, take a hit, hold it, and then exhale slowly, and they're not going to produce any vapor in the classroom, and the teacher may not be alerted to that at all. But the that information's out there. I got this on YouTube. YouTube had a whole instructional video on zero vaping and stealth vaping, just to let you know. Okay, so this section is, it's not controversial, but it's just being honest. There's no vape system that's foolproof. No vape detection system that's foolproof, no matter the manufacturer of the product. I know there's some claims from different manufacturers that say, hey, we have zero false alarms and stuff, but there's no foolproof. If there's a way, addictive personalities will find a way to get around it. Metal detectors are the same thing, not a foolproof, and neither is canine detection. Canine detection is not 100% foolproof either. So dogs miss things because they just do. But uh, just to you'll need to you'll need to come to terms with that in order to really get through some of the things that you're going to encounter. Uh, so here are the good points and the bad points about all this when it comes down to what I perceive in the research that I've done. Vape detectors work. They absolutely work. There's no doubt about it. There's statistics there that prove that there's a decline in the use of vapes in your bathrooms whenever these systems are installed and used correctly. There is. And there's a big curve going down, and then it kind of trends up a little bit because then kids get smart about how to defy it, how to game it, what's going to work in order for me to be able to continue and to feed my addiction during the time I'm at school. Okay. Now, the one thing that vape detectors will not detect is the presence of vape devices in the room, stashed, hidden, whatever you want to call it. They're not going to they're not going to detect the presence of a vape device in the room. Dogs can. We do it all the time. We're great at finding stashed vape devices in these bathrooms and getting them out. But they have to be the vapor has to be active in the environment for those detectors to trigger. Um, the number one complaint that I got from interviewing different administrators from districts that had these devices working actively in their schools is alert fatigue from all these false alarms that they've, you know, and I know it's a process and sometimes it gets better, sometimes it is what it is, but it has to be kind of worked into an overall strategy of how they're going to manage this. But some of the triggers, things that trigger false alarms that I've researched and I've looked into is dust particles, steam, deodorants that are aerosolized. One particular manufacturer said that they proofed against Axe spray or body spray, or whatever, and they said that it doesn't. But what about Old Spice and other different manufacturers that have, different chemical compositions of their product? Is that will they also not false alarm with those? I don't know. You'd have to refer back to your product manufacturer. Perfumes, other chemicals in the air, again, similar composition, uh, droplets of water. Aerosolized cleaning products, if your janitors, your custodians aerosolize, disinfectants in the bathroom, sometimes they'll set them off too whenever they're cleaned. So these are all potential uh, uh, things that trigger false alarms. Uh, the other thing that you cannot control is the ventilation or movement of air in the room. I know that they go to great lengths and efforts to measure how far they install the vape device on the ceiling between vents, output and intake vents in the bathrooms, and that's all great. But when it comes down to it, they can't control air movement. There's too many factors that contribute to the movement of air in the room for them to that a measurement is going to mitigate. Uh, I've been studying odor dynamics as it regards to canine detection and how dogs uh, are affected by odor movement. And there's lots of different variables that we don't have control of: temperature, humidity, whether the air conditioner system is on or off, how many people are in the room creating turbulence, those type of things all influence um, how air moves odor or air moves smoke or vapor. Okay, and we don't have control over that. It is what it is. And since the device is a stationary device, okay, the vapor has to come to the detector for it to detect. The detector doesn't go to the vapor. So unlike a dog. So it has to be, those situations have to be present for the vapor in order to make it to the sensor, in the movement of air in the room. So those are all factors, again, that we have no control of. It's just the dynamics of the movement of air and the odor in the room. Okay, so these vape detectors, uh, the, they are a tool in the overall strategy of eliminating air the vaping in your schools. Okay, they're tools that effectively work when they're worked correctly. They're managed. They're integrated into uh, the 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 culture of safety in your school. They all work, and I'm not saying that they don't. Okay, but uh, having have having having this information available to you helps you be better prepared, aware, and manage how this is going to affect how you operate this system, and identify these things whenever they pop up, and be able to recognize these things that are being promoted amongst your schools, amongst your kids, whenever you see it happening in real time. And so you're not ignorant to the fact that what this is. So it helps you help your school, your kids, to mitigate uh, this, vaping in your bathrooms and uh, in your changing rooms. Okay, but to me, it really underscores, the behavior of addiction that drives these behaviors. I mean, person that is really addicted to this has to apply a lot of knowledge in order to be able to do this, to be able to feed its addiction. And if we're able to identify this and help, and these kids that are in this horrible addiction with nicotine and THC, that they're going to be better. We're going to serve them better overall. And I hope to further educate and enlighten not only the kids but also parents as well, to identify this going on at home or somewhere else. Uh, So that's pretty much it. That concludes this presentation. I appreciate you taking time out of your day, evening, whenever you're watching this, to educate yourself, to enlighten yourself, to prepare yourself, and to incorporate this into the strategy that your particular school has in order to mitigate and eliminate the use of vaping, or the use of vapes in your bathrooms, in your lockers, in your changing areas. So we collectively can work together to eliminate this through detection, deterrence, and education. And I think those are the three pillars that we have to put together in order to make these trends go downwards, and to help save, some of these kids' lives and their health and their well-being. And that's what this was designed to do. And I hope you captured that in this presentation. If you have any questions, please email me at schoolcaninedetection@gmail.com. I'd be happy to hear your comments, or if you have any information to share about what you've encountered, what you've experienced in your practice in your schools, about what kids are using in order to mitigate or beat the detectors in your. I'd be happy to hear from you about that, so I can keep this information updated and relevant, and also any feedback that you have for me. Thank you so much again. Reach out to me if there's anything that I can do to help you, your school, your kids. We'll be offering a lot more education programs. And starting in June, we'll have a podcast that we're going to talk and interview a lot of people to get a lot of information out there, and to spread the word about uh, how canines uh, detection in schools contribute to safety and other safety factors and programs that we collaborate with schools and districts with. Okay, have a great day and a great evening, and we hope to see you soon. Bye.